You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Just wanted to say a quick welcome to the show, and thank you guys so much for joining in with us again. Hey, this episode is going to be a solo episode here with just myself, Brian Fullerton, your guys' host for the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. And today, I wanted to talk about something that has been on my mind the last couple of weeks, months, and something that I've actually been practicing for the last couple of years. I think it might help you guys with a couple breakthroughs, maybe help some of you guys make more money, have a couple less hassles, a couple less stressors, a little less worries in your life. And that is the topic of being a quitter. Being a quitter. Well, what are you guys talking about? Being a quitter? What am I talking about? Being a quitter? Well, look, long story short, I want to talk about business. I want to talk about success. I want to talk about growing. I want to talk about being exceedingly profitable. I want to talk about how wealthy people work, how wealthy people think. And quite frankly, I'm on that journey. I'm on that hunt. I want to have a more successful life. I want to have a bigger impact. I want to be a somebody, right? Let's just be honest. Can we just cut the mustard here? Just have some fun, honest conversation. I think every single one of us out there, we want to be significant. I think we want our life to account for something. I think we want to be known for something. And most of us, especially if you guys listening to this episode in the show, you want to build something. You want to create something. I think we're all creative beings. I mean, we were created and we want to create. And we also have children. We want to continue the creation cycle. So what I want to talk about is the most effective way to create, the most effective way to be effective. Is that not the funniest thing that you could just do a little wordplay there? So what I want to talk about is a topic that I've been studying, and that is the topic of focus, the topic of quitting, the topic of being lean and mean. Now, we've all talked about this in one way, shape, or form. I just want to bring some of these thoughts to the forefront. I think this will be a fun conversation. I probably won't go long on this one as a solo episode. I've actually been out and about cutting grass all day long. I'm a little tired, so I'm not going to be super lengthy on this one. But I know that a lot of you guys are probably listening to this first thing in the morning, getting your day going as we're starting to cut the lawns. Lord knows I'm listening to all your guys' podcasts and episodes as I do the same thing myself. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We're going to hear from our show sponsors, which helps keeps the lights on, helps keep this show coming to you guys a couple days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll come right on back here after we hear a quick note from our show producer, Marty, and hear from our show sponsor.
I am definitely looking forward to this episode, Brian. You certainly piqued our interest. Now, a little bit later in the podcast, I'll be sharing some of the reviews and comments that we've recently received. We would love to shout you out on the show. So after the program, or if you're just good at multitasking, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast and listen for us to read them on a future episode.
For those of you guys interested in breaking into the snow removal game, this one's for you. Now available exclusively at thelawnpreneuracademy.com. We've got you covered with the How to Get Started Plowing Snow training program. This powerful resource is there to help you guys learn the basics to plowing snow, what to charge, major pitfalls and mistakes to avoid, and so much more. Hands down, one of the most anticipated and helpful training programs we have available. We'll get you up to speed on how to crush it with your snow removal business in no time. Check out the training program today at lawnpreneuracademy.com, because before you know it, we'll be out there plowing that snow and making that dough.
Most people dream of warm, white, sandy beaches next to a jewel blue ocean, spending time with the love of their life as the gentle sounds of the waves rolling in remind you really are in paradise. Brian, he just dreams about blowing snow. This is the Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Awesome, guys. Well, great deal. Well, thank you so much to those guys for sponsoring this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast. Guys, we really appreciate you guys as you support the show sponsors, which, again, helps keep the lights on and lets us bring all this great content to you guys. So here's the preface, or the premise, I should say, of how I wanted to just kind of approach this talk. I don't have a lot of notes. When I do these these solo episodes, a lot of the time I jot down like 3 or 4 things, and I get kind of gust up to a couple hundred words a minute here, and I just start letting it rip. And eventually, usually it's my subconscious talking. Some of the times it's a little inspired, if you guys know what I mean. And, here's the bottom line. What I've done the last 10, 15 years is put a bunch of good stuff in, okay? Tons and tons of good stuff. Podcasts, audiobooks, business conferences, mentorship, a lot of good stuff going into the subconscious mind. And what I've just realized lately is I almost consciously have to get out of my way to let the subconscious do the work, because I put so much good stuff in. I just have to let it manifest, let my body go through the motions of understanding how to operate businesses and do what I've been learning for 10, 15 years. And frankly, just like a lot of you guys, all day long, I know how you guys are, because I'm in the same boat. We listen to a couple podcasts. After about noon, 1, 2, you're usually through that day's podcast, whether you're listening to Gary Vee or Robert Kiyosaki or Andy Frisella or, pick your guy, or, Paul Jameson, Paul Jameson, Julio Tomei, myself, Keith Kalfas, Britt Dowd, right? You name one, you got to name them all, right? All great dudes, all great buddies. Stanley Dirt Monkey, little shout out to LMN podcast. They created the Landscape Disruptors, right? So we're all like listening in, and we're trying to become better people, and we keep learning. We keep acquiring more and more thoughts, more and more skills. And it's almost like, I don't know if you guys can ever relate to this. Can I just talk frankly? It's almost like I feel like I got to do more. 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 I got to do this. I got to do that. Oh, I got to work on my marketing. Oh, I got to work on my people skills. Oh, I got to work on my routes. Oh, I got to work on my operations. Oh, I got to work on my legal. Oh, I got to work on my numbers. Know your numbers. Know this, do that. It's like, man, I'm only one guy. You guys ever feel like that? I'm only one guy. What the hell do I focus on first? There's so much stuff I have to do, right? As a business owner, even if you're, got 20 employees, 200 employees, or it's just you feel like you have so much stuff to do. We all do. And if you aren't doing enough, you listen to more content, and it puts these other expectations on you that you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing more. And I don't know if you guys have ever felt like that. Like, basically, when I started my lawn and landscape company, when I got into business for myself, when I was in business for myself, I was like a paper airplane. I was like a little paper airplane, man. I was so feather light. I was easy to move. I could just, change direction on the gust of the wind. Nothing crazy. And as I continued to go through my business career, I turned into this little Cessna airplane. Then I was a little Piper Matrix airplane, a little $1 million plane. Then I was this VLJ. And then I turned into this Citation. And then I was turned into a C-130. And now I'm this Marvel Studios aircraft helicopter, helicopter craft, whatever, those aircraft carriers in the movies. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm a nerd. I'm like this helicopter aircraft carrier going through the sky, and I'm this big gargantuan thing. That's what it feels like. I'm like, man, we've got all these moving things, all this stuff to do. There's layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of stuff. And it's almost like you get bogged down. Right? It's almost like you have analysis paralysis, right? It almost feels like you live in a constant state of perpetual ineffectiveness. You feel like you're in this constant state of ineptitude, this constant state of ignorance. It almost feels like you don't know what to do. I mean, like 1 minute, I don't know if you guys ever play this business yo-yo. I call it the entrepreneurship yo-yo. Liz calls it being, schizophrenic. She's like, one day you're a high, next day you're a low. One day you have this account or this, whatever happens, and you do $1,500 in a day or $4,000 in a day. Next day, something happens and you're like, I want to quit this industry. I want to quit the business. I hate YouTube. I hate this. I hate people. I'm just talking frankly. I don't know if you guys can ever feel like this or if you guys can ever relate. But we as entrepreneurs, we kind of go through this like literal yo-yo. I mean, and this can happen for days, weeks, months, years, decades if we don't keep it under control. And that was me, my first 10, maybe 11, almost 12 years in business. I'd have high highs, I'd have low lows. I'd be trying to focus on something, and as I'm learning something else falls off the bandwagon. As I start spinning a different plate, I feel like another plate would stop spinning, and the little stick that holds that plate up, like I'm in the circus, that would just fall apart. And I just felt like I was all over the place. And again, I want to go back to talking about being a quitter. There's things that I have realized that successful people, wealthy people do, And there's things that successful people, wealthy people don't do. Now, I'm going to come at you guys from the position of I'm in the thick with it. I'm in the thick with you guys. I am not some millionaire. I am not some billionaire. Wow, big shock, right? Those YouTube millions didn't put me in the Forbes list. Come on. I just laugh all the time. Listen, we've been blessed with a little bit more lately, but I want to talk to you guys and approach this as a peer. Guys, I'm in the same boat you are. You might be making $100,000 a year. You might be making, $400,000 or $500,000 a year. The long story short is that we're all in this together. We're all learning. We're all trying to improve. And I will even say that even if you're making $500,000 to $1 million a year, you're going to learn something from this podcast, because let's go full circle. What I've been trying to do the last 4 or 5 years, I've been a student of business and success for 10, 15 years. Okay, like people are like, well, should you go to college? Should you not go to college? I go, look, it's up to you. You decide. We've had a bunch of guests on talking about all that. For me personally, I didn't go to college. Okay, but doesn't mean I'm not educated. I might not be the most articulate. I might not have the best enunciation. I might not have the best vocabulary. What I've learned in life is that life comes down to a couple key skill sets. How about communication? How about salesmanship? How about storytelling? Okay, like if you just get good at those 2 or 3 things, I think you can chisel out a pretty good income in almost any industry in a pretty short period of time. Now, I've also, like I said, to go full circle, I've been a student of success for 10, 12, 15 years. And I've just, my first wave, my first wind in business was learning as much as I can. That took about 10 years. I've read all the same books you guys have. And if you haven't read books, you're like, I don't like to read books. Okay, I don't like to read books either, man. Just do it. Just start reading Robert Kiyosaki. Start listening and reading a Grant Cardone. Listen to a Gary Vee. All these different. Go to Barnes and Noble. Well, Barnes and Nobles are bookstores, and books are part of the internet that you print off and they put them in this like hardcover thing. It's really weird. You pay like $19 for it, and then you take it home and you go and you open it. It's like you open part of the internet, but it's not on your phone. And then you can take this marker, and that's not like a traditional marker where you're going to like color in the dinosaurs. You take this marker and you highlight the words because you want to learn, and your brain jumps out at it and it says, oh, I'm going to remember this. I'm just having some fun here. I'm being a dork, but for real, traditional paperback books. When's the last time you actually grabbed a physical book and you open it up, in your bed and you read for 15, 20, 30 minutes a night? Right? I mean, don't just take it for granted that you can passively put content into your brain with a podcast. That's not how you change. Okay, that's not how you change, right? And remember, I just did a podcast recently. It said the most admirable skill of any business owner is adaptability. Or you could boil that down or distill that down into the phraseology of the willingness to change, the ability to change. And you can't change passively. You have to actively change. You want to be a better spouse? You don't passively become a better spouse. You have to actively choose to do nice things and to be a better person. So we go full circle. It took me 10, 12 years. I'm just putting all this stuff in, putting all this stuff in, putting all this stuff in. In the last 4 or 5 years, I had to start distilling things. I had to start figuring out, and you guys have heard me say this on other podcasts, figure out what levers to pull to get the most reward, to get the result, to get things moving. There's certain things you can do and certain things that you can focus on, and they will produce a more significant reward than other things. So let's go back to being a quitter. So on this journey of me talking about business and success and, just devouring every single thing I could get my hands on, I stumbled upon a guy named Darren Hardy about 4 or 5 years ago. A lot of you guys have heard me talk about Darren Hardy. Maybe you know the name, maybe you don't. He's not as like out there flashy as like a Grant Cardone or Gary Vee. But go scour Google, go scour YouTube, go scour Amazon. He's got a couple books. He's got a lot of things he's got his hands into, but he's also extremely focused on what he does do, and there's reasons why he doesn't do certain things. Anyway, I learned from him that the master's skill set, amongst many, he did a talk once where he distilled about a half dozen principles that he decided to ace as an entrepreneur himself about 10, 12 years ago. And when I listened to this talk about 4 or 5 years ago, honestly, it was the catalyst for a lot of my success, a lot of my current growth and success and outward expression of growth and success that you guys are now kind of realizing or seeing, or what's materializing. Well, one of the things amongst the 6, I'm only going to talk about one, is the skill set or the ability of people saying no, the ability to say no, the ability to focus, the ability to be a quitter. So here's what I want to talk about. For all of us, and I think even B&B alluded to this, and whether he was like focusing in on this or he just thought it was a good thought because it's been working for him lately. We talked about the fact that the easy thing in life for a lot of us is to say yes. Yes, I'm going to be at that event. Yes, I'm going to go host that birthday party. Yes, I can host you at my house. Yes, I can meet you for dinner. Yes, I can take on that landscape job. Yes, you can work for me as a new employee. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, I can meet you here. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can whatever, right? Enter in whatever expectation is on you. Now, how many times has all of us listening in, again, if you're listening to this podcast, it's a business entrepreneurship podcast. We're not talking about lawn care landscaping 24/7. We're talking about life. We're talking about business. We're talking about entrepreneurship. And just because, we don't get 1 million downloads a month or 1 million this a month doesn't mean that what we're talking about ain't going to be something that can get you to $1 million a year, right? You guys might realize that in 5 years, some of the stuff that I'm saying and the guests are saying is some of the best content ever because we're in the thick of it. A lot of us are in the zone. A lot of us are in the hunt. Now, that outward success might not come to realization for another 5 or 10 years, but that's how success works, right? So what I'm going to tell you guys right now is some of the best stuff that I've ever heard and devoured, and that is the topic and the content of being a quitter, of saying no, right? The easy thing to do is say yes, and the real master skill is saying no. And you're going to be like, no? What do you mean by no? Well, let's look at just a quick premise or, somebody who's pretty famous lately for that example, last 5-10 years is Warren Buffett. A lot of people know Warren Buffett, super successful, super ultra profitable and successful business owner, businessman, and investor. Most notably investor, but he runs a business as well. And Darren Hardy, and this is what I'm bringing all this content and all this data from you to you guys from. Darren Hardy said, well, the master skill set from Warren Buffett's perspective was the ability to say no. And in fact, he was talking in the context of anytime there is an investment opportunity or business opportunity brought to Warren Buffett, what he does is he says no 99 times out of 100. So of a 99 opportunities or 100 opportunities that come his way, he says no to 99 of them or 99% of them. And that is one of the things that he said was what allowed him, amongst a couple other skill sets for sure, but that was what allowed him to focus on certain things that were going to be exceedingly profitable and exponentially propel him in his business career and in his investing career. Is the ability to say no, the ability to pass on 99 out of 100 opportunities. In fact, the Warren Buffett approach is to take your whole priority list, distill it down into your top 10, then distill it into your top 3, pick those top 3, and then literally forget about the rest. Literally forget about the rest, because you'll realize here soon, whether it's the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you're going to realize here by the end of this talk that most of your success is going to come down to the 1, 2, or 3 things you do regularly, right? It's going to be the 1, 2, 3 things that you're great at. The 1, 2, 3 things that you're, as Stanley Dirt Monkey says, you're known for. You have a reputation, right? We talked about that on Stanley's episode, just maybe a half dozen back. So Darren Hardy, he was talking about if you want to become successful, and again, Darren Hardy, his speech that he was talking about that I was listening to 5 years ago on a bootleg version from YouTube, was he was talking about the things that the most successful millionaires, 100 millionaires, and billionaires do, 6 of these different skill sets and attributes and traits. One was the ability to say no. The ability to say no and the ability to quit. And he said that most successful millionaires and billionaires attributed their greatest success to the ability to focus and the ability to say no. Well, how does this relate to being a quitter? Because that's what we're talking about here. We want to talk about quitting things. Well, again, my business story was 10 years of learning everything I can and doing everything I can. Everything was a great idea and everything made sense. Everything was working. But let's go full circle. How many things was I a 10 at just 5 years ago? Now, I'm not a 10 at anything today. I'm not professing to be. Maybe we were 3s and 4s in the grand scheme of thing, and now we're 6s and 7s and 8s. Maybe. But you guys know what I'm saying. What we're at today is not where we were just 4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago, we were 2s, 3s, and 4s at everything. And maybe you guys listening in, maybe by the time you're done with this, you might reevaluate yourself and go, dude, that's the missing ingredient. That's going to set me free. That's what I want to do with this podcast. So hang with me here. So what I realized 4 years ago, when I heard this, it was like, you got to start saying no. You got to start focusing. You got to start focusing on niches. You got to start focusing on the things that are going to move the ball forward the most. So let's give some practical examples here. Well, Darren Hardy, he talked about, he had interviewed a billionaire. I think his name was Ken Fisher. He wrote a book, 10 Different Ways to Get Rich, something like that. It was an old school book. I read it, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, because I heard about it from Darren, and it was a pretty good book. It's an old school book. You probably got to get it on Amazon, one of those deals. It's kind of ironic that Amazon still sells books, 15, 20 years later. That's awesome. But that gentleman that Darren had interviewed was worth about $3 billion. And Darren Hardy said it smacked him upside the head like a bag of bricks, because he had asked Ken Fisher, who's a billionaire, is worth $3 billion, what's your biggest keys to success? And Ken Fisher said, my biggest tip that I can give you, Darren, is to be a quitter. And Darren Hardy goes, remember, this guy's a billionaire, so 3 words, that's 1 billion a word. He said, be a quitter. He said, Ken, can you explain? Can you elaborate? And, again, I'm telling the story second, third, fourth hand now, whatever. But basically, it was Ken talking about, look, when you start a business, and some of you guys have already heard me kind of say some of these stories, but I want to bring it to the forefront of your mind and keep some context here. When you start a business, whether it's lawn landscaping, you start a paper, company, a paper mill company, you start a furniture company, you start an automotive company. When you start a company, in the beginning, you got to do everything, right? You register the LLC, you register the paper, you put it in a manila folder, boom, you got a company. Well, now you got to get sales coming in, right? And when you get sales coming in, you got to build a product, make a product, sell a service. We understand that. You run a lawn landscape company, you got to do this, you got to do that. The idea as you grow a company is once you have enough sales coming in, look, somebody's got to take out the trash. Let's say you start a traditional office building and you're selling, insurances, something like that. Well, you have to get enough sales coming in where you're running that business. But the idea is to quit doing the stupid stuff that you shouldn't be doing, i.e., let's say taking out the trash, right? The idea is to get enough sales coming in where you have a delta. Let's say you're working and whatever skill set you do is at $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $250, $500 an hour, $10,000 an hour, right? Because you'd be surprised. Some people make $200,000 an hour doing certain things. Some people make $1 million an hour. Some people make $1 million a minute. And I'm just being serious. It depends on what they do, right? Like Michael Jordan got paid $50,000 per dribble at the height of his career. Now, let's go full circle. This is going to be some good stuff, man. This is good stuff for me. I hope it sets you guys free. But when he was talking about, you got to get enough sales coming in to hire out a janitor or, some 20-year-old kid to take out the trash, boom. Now you don't have to take out the trash anymore. You don't have fractured mental focus. And now you can double down on your high income producing skill, i.e. selling. So the idea is to continue to grow this company. And this is Ken Fisher telling this to Darren. This is a billionaire. Okay. So don't just gloss over this. If you think you got it figured out, look at your checking account. If it ain't got, 9 zeros and a digit, and that doesn't count the period 00, okay? That's not a billion. You know what I'm saying, fellas? So Ken Fisher said, the idea is then to grow your company. Get somebody on the phones, get enough sales coming in, hire out the phones, get enough sales coming in, hire out the marketing, get enough sales coming in, hire out the advertising, get enough sales coming in, hire out the operations, get enough sales coming in, hire out the management, get enough sales coming in, hire out the sales. And now you have a full-blown company that can now produce income for you and help you become wealthy. But the idea in this example is that you were the high-paid salesman. You were getting paid because you were a 7, 8, 9, 10, let's say a 9 or a 10, in that skill set. And that skill set is going to help you make the most amount of money. And you should hire out, you should be a quitter. You should quit doing things that don't pay you and don't pay you enough or don't pay you well. And in fact, take your time away from doing that high income skill or service. Let's keep it really simple. Let's say you're a lawn care guy. Let's say you're a landscaper. Let's say you're making $50 an hour. Let's say keeping that mower moving or, the crew moving, it's $50 to $125 an hour. Let's say that you want to keep that sales coming in. You got to feed the machine. And there's different ways to approach this, but let's just keep it simple. Let's say that there has to be sales coming in for that company to produce work. And if it is moving, it's making $125 an hour. So your role should be to sell as much work as possible to feed the baby. Now, let's put it in perspective. Let's say you're a guy on the crew. Let's say you're a trimmer guy, and you're making 12, 15, 18 bucks an hour. Not bad. Let's say you're the mower guy. You're making 12, 15, 18, 20, $24 an hour. Maybe you're a foreman. You're doing foreman responsibilities, and the foreman's making 22, 24, 26, 34, $44 an hour. Okay, I get it. Not bad money. But the idea here is to start doing things that pay you very well and to quit doing things that don't pay you the same rate as that high income producing skill or activity, right? So what I'm trying to say is, if you're the sales guy for your company, or you're the CEO and you're casting a vision, you're recruiting, and you're building the culture and the atmosphere of your company, which is basically the three things you should always be doing as an owner of a company, right? Look at Greg Woodstock. He's constantly recruiting, and he doesn't hire. He gives them over to his hiring department. He's always casting a vision, and he's always creating culture, right? So what I'm saying parlays into a guy who's got a $40 million company. So again, don't just think that Fullerton's creating, some nonsense here to, patch up a 30-minute podcast. Let's look around and let's keep this practical. Greg Woodstock, he is in the front and he is selling. He is growing his company, and he has hired out. He has created systems and hired out every single other responsibility, because he can now go and spend, 72 hours with Shaquille O'Neal, for example, and add 20, 30, 50,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel. He can bring in, an extra $100,000, $150,000 in sales to his company from all the sales and products and services, from people learning about ponds, maybe even more. He could have $1 million surplus month just because he got hanging out with Shaquille O'Neal, who probably got him hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views across all types of social media and platforms, right? So let's go back to this whole conversation about being a quitter. Why on earth, if you can make $100 or $50 or $125 an hour or $500 an hour selling and growing and building a company, or $15,000 an hour selling and growing a company, why are we still doing the trimming? Why are we still doing the mowing? Right? Why are we trading a $12, $15, $16, $18 an hour job that we could hire out to go be doing these bigger high ticket sales roles? Now, I will also preface this. Hello, I work as an owner-operator. There are strategic reasons why I'm still in my business, because I'm able to create content for YouTube while still remaining credible with you guys, because I'm in the thick of it. Now, I've already hired out the trimming responsibilities because I realized that if I had that guy running and I was billing him out at $55 an hour or $65 an hour or whatever, and I paid him $12, $15, $18, $20 an hour, I can make $30, $40 off that guy per man hour, right? It's really simple. You get to create and keep the delta, right? And so in entrepreneurship, we have to trade labor in the service industry, like a labor, right? Unless you have machines or automation, we have to trade labor, physical labor, right? So labor is basically, you take yourself, you sell it to your employer at wholesale, they turn around and sell it to the customer for retail, right? So anytime I take, an employee for $15 an hour, I'm selling him to my customers for $55 an hour based on the varying level of work and skill set that he can do and the work that he can provide, right? So it all goes full circle to, there's certain things that we should be doing and there's certain things that we shouldn't be doing. Now, by the way, I should not be on my lawnmower, but there's a balance, right? I'm still in the thick of it. Remember, I don't have it figured out. I'm learning with you guys. So why am I still on my mower? Well, I need it to create content. I need it to run my business. I don't have a foreman just yet. Our company just got to the financial level to where it got debt free, to where we have excess funds, plus we're raising our prices to where I can now hire out a foreman. And literally, guys, as I speak, I'm doing the stuff I'm telling you because I'm in the transition period with my boy Rob to offer him a full-time foreman position. So I'm a student of success, trying to keep credibility and teach you guys the latest and greatest stuff that I know works, and I'm trying to do it with you. Why? Because your boy here is not a finished product, but he also wants to get his story out. He also wants to grow something. He also wants to build. And I want to create something bigger than myself, just like a lot of you guys. So we're going to do it together. Again, I don't have it figured out, but the stuff that I'm already teaching you here on this podcast should pay big dividends for you guys long term. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come back with a couple practical tips. Take a quick second. I'm going to catch my breath from just spitting bars at you guys here. And we're going to talk about a couple more practical steps and tips about how to continue to become more successful, to start doubling down, and to also be a quitter. I got some more great stuff I'm going to bring at you guys here in just a quick second. We're going to throw it over to Mr. Producer, and then we're going to get right back into it.
You know, my wife used to tell me to quit singing that Oasis song, Wonderwall, in the shower. Of course, my reply was always, maybe. All right, guess you had to be around in the 90s. Enough with the bad humor. Brian will be right back.
New program alert. The How to Get New Lawn Care Customers training program is now available. If you guys have ever struggled at acquiring new customers or are looking to grow your lawn care business, then this new program might just be for you. Looking to learn the best tactics to develop a successful postcard marketing campaign? We got you covered. Have you ever wondered how to use social media to exponentially grow your business and dominate the competition? We got that too. Whether you're just getting started in business or you're a seasoned vet, there's something for everyone in this new program available now, exclusively at l'entrepreneuracademy.com.
Hey, have you ever thought about hiring out many of the aspects of your business that you do not enjoy or just that are not in your competency, in your sweet spot, your wheelhouse? Then definitely keep listening. Once again, here's Brian.
Awesome, guys. Well, cool deal. We'll always appreciate Mr. Producer showing up, posting up, and helping us put this whole show together. Big shout out to Marty to help us do this. I couldn't do it without him. So, guys, really, again, appreciate the sponsors sponsoring the show and bringing all this great content to you guys. We couldn't do it without them. And so let's continue on with being a quitter. So, again, the one thing that I wanted to talk to you guys so much about was we all get so busy tied up in doing things that we shouldn't be doing. And I wanted to just challenge you guys to start looking around, start observing, start getting the lay of the land. What are you doing that maybe you shouldn't be doing anymore? Now, I know it's easier to say than to do, so let's keep it in context, all right? We have real life going on. But maybe if you're trimming, you shouldn't be trimming. Hire somebody. Maybe if you're on a mower, hire a foreman, get off the mowing, go sell, bring in $125, $500 an hour, $1,000 per hour, work when you close a job. Right? Like, for example, let's say you close a $10,000 landscape job and it takes you 3 hours. Well, you're making $3,300 selling that job. What do you think is more valuable to your company? Being on the trimmer, making $15, doing the job of a $15 hour employee, or selling a $10,000 landscape job that the $15 an hour employee can't do? So you're focused on, saving $15 an hour on labor, but what you're really doing is the opportunity cost of losing out on $9,985 by not doing your high income producing skill set, which is sales. Sales, communicating, right? Every single entrepreneur I know, for the most part, is a good communicator. They're good at selling. Now, if not, they have a business partner who is. But I've almost realized that every entrepreneur, and now it doesn't mean you're talking fast up north, Michigan kind of a boy. You can be a down south, low key, how y'all doing? Just really chill salesman. That's fine too. But almost every entrepreneur I know, in whatever personality type, in whatever way they communicate, they are able to sell a product or service or communicate an idea. All entrepreneurs have to do that. And so let's continue to move forward. Being a quitter, right? You got to start quitting things that you shouldn't be doing. There's different things that you can pull levers in to get the most result and have that exponential profit, that exponential delta. Let me give you some really, for instance, practical examples. Let's say you got a guy we just talked about on the trimmer. We just talked about a guy on the mower. Let's talk about answering phone calls and voicemails. Do you think that you can hire somebody out for $300-$400 a week to man your phones? For some of you guys that have a 5 or 10 person company, and do you think that you should be on the phone answering service calls or callbacks? Now, those are a real thing in our industry, in our business. Like, we got to make sure that our customers are being taken care of. But do you, as the owner of the business, if it took you 2 hours to man 12 different voicemails a day, let's say you got 400 customers in a 10 person company. Do you think that you should be managing the phones for 2 hours a day when you can hire a secretary out for $300 or $400 a week to go ahead and manage those phones, communicate with those customers? Hey, I'm sorry, we missed a spot. We'll get back right on it. and then, use a little Nextel chirp chirp, get back with your guys on a two-way, or, call them and say, hey, we missed a spot at Mrs. Johnson's house. Can you guys double back? Again, you shouldn't be doing any of those two things. You should be out growing the company, selling work. Let's take it to another example. And I'm just going to start spitballing some examples here because people are like, how'd you become, 100,000 subscribers while you're growing your lawn and landscape company? You can't do it all. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't do it all. Can we just level for a quick second? I didn't do it all. I enlisted the help of a lot of little things and a lot of little people behind the scenes. And I also started to figure out what levers started to produce better results, right? So everything in business has to be paid attention to, but it doesn't mean that you have to be the one that pays attention to it, right? So let's I'm going to reveal all my cards, right? And again, Liz and I, we've worked our asses off behind the scenes, but so have a lot of other people for us the last 3-4 years. Let's talk about the lawn and landscape company. Do you know that I don't fertilize my own company? I don't fertilize in my company? No. I've got a great subcontractor, Mike Bedell. Do you guys know that I don't salt my own properties? No, I don't. I've got a great subcontractor, Mike Bedell. Do you guys know that I don't prune my own properties? I don't do the pruning? No, because I have a great subcontractor, Chaz. I've got another great subcontractor, Brandon. And if I have anything that's overflow or spills over that I can't do, it's going to go to Bedell. I also have another kid named Brett. You guys know Brett's Property Services. He does a lot of work for me. I create the delta by my high income producing skill, which right now for me is mowing grass. We create a 2-man mowing team that runs at $125+ per hour, kind of even north of that sometimes. That's my current 8 to 4, 8 to 5 high income producing skill, right? So I want to mow. I want to keep focused on mowing. The only thing more profitable than that is mulch. The only thing more profitable than that really is aerations. Right. So those are the 3 things we've really trimmed down to. I don't do residential mulch. I don't do pruning. I don't do irrigation. I've got subcontractors for everything because I can't be a 9 or 10 in 10 different things. I can only be a 9 or a 10 in one thing. But if you do 10 things, you're going to be a 1 at those 10 things. Right? We got to start quitting. We got to start niching down. And you don't just niche down for the sake of niching down. You niche down for the sake of building skill sets to be able to do things more frequently. And by doing things more frequently, you can get to that 10,000 hour rule, as Malcolm Gladwell says. And that is going to put you into a master skill set of whatever you're doing. After 10,000 hours, you're probably going to be in the top 1, 5, 10% of what you do. So that's my traditional business. There's so much stuff that I don't do. Why do I plow snow? Well, one, it's a lever that gets big clicks, big views on YouTube, right? So if I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel and get views and more subscribers and more audience, because it's a business, it's a business in the sake of I'm trying to grow it. I have to treat it serious or it's not going to grow. YouTube it's a business, guys. Like you got to realize it takes a lot of freaking effort. And I know what levers to pull to get the views and the subs. I had to slow down to speed up. I started looking at my first 2 years in YouTube. What videos got the views? What videos got the subs? If you want to get views and subs, I can tell you what kind of videos are going to do it. If you want to get the conversion, I'll tell you what videos and topics will do it. If you want to get loyalty and buy-in and heartstrings, I'll tell you what topics and videos will do that. Like it's not in this manipulative approach. It's in this effective approach. We all want to be effective. And I had to learn, by the way, I had to learn how to be effective with my wife. And there's times I wouldn't see her for days if, we would sleep in bed together. But there's times where we didn't talk for 2-3 days because I was so busy working. Do you know that my wife is quality time? Do you know that my wife is acts of service? Do you know that by combining an acts of service and a quality time event or thing, I was able to double dip and have compounded results with hanging with my wife? Doesn't that just sound romantic? But you know that if I spent 3 hours going to, cleaning up the whole house and cooking dinner, that it was an acts of service and it was also quality time with my wife. And we were able to spend 2-3 hours together having a steak and lobster tail dinner at my house, for $40. And that was able to exponentially deposit currency into her love tank. If you guys have ever read the 5 love languages, it was a way to be effective. It sounds super romantic, doesn't it? But when you're a detail guy with melancholy and you're just an X's and O concrete thinker, kind of a guy like most of us are, you learn how to be effective. So 4 or 5 years ago, I'm like, all right, I only have 24 hours in a day. I only got 16 working hours a day. I only got 12 real hours in a day. I got to be effective. I got to be effective at being a son to my mom. I got to be effective at being a brother to my brother. I got to be an effective husband to my wife. I got to be an effective friend to my friend Mike Bedell. I got to be an effective friend to my friend Brandon. I got to be an effective person put on a pedestal in the public eye as a quote unquote celebrity, which you guys know when I talk about this stuff, I make fun of it because it's so ridiculous. I'm just a regular dude. But, somebody who's 15, they go, oh my God, Brian's Law Maintenance. And I'm like, what's up, man? I understand that we're in this like limelight, spotlight. So there's a certain expectation about what I got to say, what I got to do, how do I got to act. And by the way, I absolutely embody all of it. I love it. I absolutely love it because I'm a giver. And anytime the spotlight shines on me, most of you guys realize I shine the spotlight back on somebody else. There isn't a video, topic, or thing I do where I don't try to edify or point at somebody else to build that person up. Like we just did a 3-acre video on my new property just a week ago by the time this podcast is coming out. And in the video, I highlighted the land, but really I highlighted this young man, Bronson, who got to join me in the video because I was making his day. He's now a new neighbor. He lives a quarter mile down the road. His mom brought him over to kind of hang out with us, and he's a big fan of the channel. But it wasn't about me. It was about him. All right, so let's go full circle here, right? We want to be a quitter. When it comes to, let's say, like editing a YouTube video, right? When the number one skill set in any company is to sell and to grow and to create. Well, if you're going to like make a YouTube channel, for example, is the high income producing skill creating the video or editing the video, right? The high income producing skill is creating the video, creating the content, telling the story, reviewing this, building that, communicating something. The high income skill set is not necessarily editing, although that's debatable, but it's not really editing because I can hire somebody out for $50 or $75 to edit a YouTube video and do a banger job. Now, to be totally honest with you, YouTube videos themselves are usually a wash. There's not a lot of money in the views unless you're getting like millions of views from like a Logan Paul or a Jake Paul or a Casey Neistat. Like, you have to get, a couple million views a month to start banking. And banking, like, you're like, oh, you make $2,000 on your YouTube views or something like that. Yeah, dude, but like once you pay taxes and you pay like all the fees to do all this stuff and camera gear, like you don't super net. You know what I'm saying? It's like you run your lawn care business, you make $2,000, but just because you made $2,000 gross, you probably spent $1,000 to do it between gas and labor, right? It's a business. There's expenses. And so some people just kind of get lost in that. But the high income skill producing skill set is creating that content. Like, let's also talk about another thing. Podcasting. I've realized just like a couple weeks ago, I enlisted the help of Paul Jameson's friend, Marty, Mr. Producer, because he has a level 8, 9, 10, I'd say arguably a 10, in podcast production, right? So if he's a 10 at that, and I'm a 4 at editing and tagging and titling and getting this podcast uploaded, just so you guys know, it's about 2 hours that goes into an hour of shooting a podcast and then an hour of production. I mean, you got to, edit it, get rid of the ums, the sneezes, the coughs. There's what you guys hear is not the finished product, right? Like an hour podcast, it was really an hour and 5. But when you take out the spaces, the ums, and the blah, blah, blahs, that podcast is really an extra hour to edit. And then you got to upload it, and it costs time and it costs money. And the time is really the real opportunity cost there, which is what we're also going to talk about here in a second. But let's say, for example, I make $100 on a podcast or $250 on a podcast. I don't, some of them we do, but it just depends on sponsors and all this other mess. And I'm completely transparent. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't. My goal with the podcast is we want to, of course, run anything we do profitably, but I couldn't even care less if the podcast lost money because it's an outlet. It's a way for me to sincerely add value to you guys. And I so freaking love it. You guys know that I love to talk anyway, but I love being able to pour into you guys through this medium, through this outlet. So, but let's take it for example. Let's say somebody did run an ad on the show for $250. And let's say, for example, somebody wanted to produce the show for $100. I still keep the net. I still keep the delta of $150 if somebody else would do the production of the podcast, right? So that means that the hour that I put in, the 1 hour to create the content, to sell the work, to create the YouTube video, to create this, to sell the landscape job, right? The number one thing is to sell and create. If I do that, then I'm making $150 to $300 an hour. Again, keeping it practical. When we look at the lawn and landscape business, do you guys think that I do my own books? Absolutely not. Do you guys think I do my own payroll? Absolutely not. Do we have a team that we've built around us for the lawn and landscape company that I can hire out every single one of these services and pay them a fair hourly rate? I mean, none of these people are cheap, but they're exceedingly cheaper than me going to do it and spending my time trying to figure out how to do what they all do when they're all 9s and 10s in their respective category, right? I don't have I don't do my own payroll. I have a payroll company. I don't do my own taxes. I have a good CPA. I don't have I'm not trying to buy insurances. I have an insurance agent that buys insurance basically for me. I buy insurance from him, right? Banking. I have a banker, right? These are all people that are my support team around me, that if I'm doing my $125 or $150 or $250 or $500 an hour work, I can hire these people out for honestly pennies on the dollar to be able to be 9s and 10s at what they do. And it frees me up to maximize doing what I do. Does that make sense? Right? So how many times have you guys heard me say that if we look at a $250,000 a year income and we divide it into the traditional working year, which is 2,000 hours that most of us put in, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, blah, blah, blah. You need to make $125 per hour to make $250,000 a year. So every single thing I do lately, I'm trying to make that $125 an hour, right? So if I have a podcast for $250 and somebody can produce it for me for $100, well, I'm making $150 in that quote unquote hour. I'm hitting my hourly rate, my man-hour rate, my income producing level 10 skill set for me to be able to hit that $250,000 a year income. And again, a lot of us, here's what we do. We set out a goal to make $100,000 a year. And then when we get towards the end of the year, what you realize is that you only made 30, 40, 50, 60,000 bucks or 80,000 bucks. Typically we come up short. And we wonder why we come up short. Yes, there's business skill sets. Yes, there's this. Yes, there's that. There's things we got to learn, things we got to do. But what happened really is that we sold our time for something less than what we should have sold it for. We gave our time away for something less than what we should have made on it. We started doing work and things, or we let somebody rob and steal our time, and we didn't get adequately compensated for it. Right? So our most valuable skill that we can earn the most money on currently for a lot of us is by trading time for money. And when you trade time for money, what you have to do is get paid adequately for that time. So we're able to create a buffer, a barrier, a delta. And with that surplus of income, we can go back and buy our time. Now, how do you buy back time? Well, you buy somebody else's time called employees, and they go do stuff for you. Eventually, you can grow a company, and that company's producing hundreds of labor hours, tens of thousands of labor hours, and it helps you create profit. And with that profit, you're able to buy back your time. What a lot of us do, and this is what I've just realized, and a lot of you guys, maybe this will help you realize some things, is that what a lot of us do is we trade something of more commodity, of more value. We trade a commodity, something that is extremely valuable for something that is of less value, right? Like, for example, a lot of us trade our time for money. The reality is that let's take $10,000. Let's say that you have $10,000 sitting in your bank account. And if I was a thief and I came and somehow, stole it from underneath your mattress, or I stole it from your safe in your house, could you get another $10,000 back? Yeah. Yeah, the bottom line is that, you could probably get it back. It might take, some of you, it might take you a day. Some of you, it might take you a week. Some of it might take you a year. Some of you, it might take you 5 years. But you lost $10,000, but you can get it back. No big deal. Now, if I was to take you personally and throw you in a prison cell and, stow the key away, and I took 1 year of your life, you were in a prison cell for a year, can you get that time back? No. Right? You cannot get that time back. So what we all do all day long is we trade time, which is more valuable, than money. So all of us, we're trading time for money. We're trading something of more value for something of less value. It's almost like you saying, I'm going to trade a Hyundai for a Ferrari. Now, how silly do we all sound by selling our services, selling our time for something that has less value? Because money does have value, but I would much rather have my time, because time is finite, right? We only get so much of it. And so what you have to do, let's keep it really simple and really practical. The reason we're so hard on this podcast about teaching you guys how to do and get to level 9s and 10s, about growing your company and doing income producing things that create large revenue, large profit, large delta, and then to hire out everything else, to be a quitter. It's because if you keep doing stupid things that don't make you level 9 and 10 income, you will never create enough buffer zone. You'll never create enough money to be able to buy back your time. I mean, I just want to be honest with you guys. So many of us, we're doing $12 and $15, $18 an hour work when we should be selling. And we should, again, go to Ken Fisher's story. We should continue to grow a company to where we have sales coming in to even pay for the sales guy who's going to continue to keep the sales coming in to pay for everything else in the company. And then because you have a business, now remember, a business is something that produces you income to give you the opportunity to go enjoy your life, right? Now, I know a lot of us are owner operators. That's fine, right? I still trade active income, right? I'm not the genius or the guru. I'm doing this with you guys. Right now, I still trade active income for money, right? Because I don't have it all figured out. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, but I'm positioning myself to the point where eventually I can have enough money coming in, whether it's from passive income or passive investments, whether it's rental properties and real estate, YouTube views, training program, whatever. It doesn't mean I'm trying to get out of the industry. It just means that I wanted to have the ability to buy back my time. When I look at my traditional lawn and landscape company, we've made more money per hour doing more things because we quit doing things that we weren't 9s and 10s at. People ask me all the time, why don't you do dethatching? Can you do more dethatching videos? No. I lost my butt doing a dethatching, and we made $20, $30, $40 an hour. But that is not the $125 an hour I need to be able to make the money I need in an annual year, to be able to afford the lifestyle, time and money, lifestyles, time and money, to be able to provide the lifestyle that I currently want, that my wife and I have decided we want, right? So hopefully this is some very, very, very practical stuff, very, very practical content for you guys, that the idea is to be a quitter. The idea is to stop doing everything. The reason people say niche down or the riches are in the niches, it's not just to make more money and a higher delta. The delta is the difference between you and it. The difference is that we want you to become exceedingly profitable at one thing, to make more money, to be able to buy back your time, to be able to buy back freedom, to be able to buy back lifestyle, right? Because again, we're not in business to make money necessarily. A business is designed to make money to buy back lifestyle, to buy back freedom. And what a lot of us are doing, my observation, and what I was doing for the first 10 years, is I was playing the wrong game. I was playing the game of kick the can, and all day long, I was busy getting my friends out of jail instead of kicking the can, instead of tagging up the pole, right? So many of us are playing the wrong game in life. And what happens is you think the right thing is to learn more. You think the right thing is to learn more skill sets. You think the right thing is to learn more services. You think the right thing is to continue to learn. That was me the first 10, 12 years of my success life, from 20 to 32 years old. What I've now come to learn is the master skill set is saying no. The master skill set is to stay focused. The master skill set is to be a quitter. The master skill set is to subcontract out every single thing that you can't freaking stand. You don't like grocery shopping? Sub it out. You don't like cooking? Sub it out. You don't like whatever. You don't like doing laundry? Sub it out. You don't like doing your oil changes on your vehicle? Sub it out. Nowadays, in 2020, there isn't a single thing that you can't hire out or have it even come to you that you can't stand, that you can't hire out. You don't want to take your car to go get the oil changed? I guarantee you can find a mobile oil change service in town. Like literally they will come to you. You want to get your cars washed? If you go get your car washed and it takes you 15 minutes to get there, 15 minutes to get back home, and you're washing your stupid car for 25 minutes, that's 50 or 55. Let's just say it's 1 hour that you spent washing your dang car. Well, it's therapeutic. Oh, okay. I'm not even against that. Don't give me that kind of nonsense. Let's say it took you an hour, and your high income producing skill or asset is $125 an hour, $500 an hour, $3,500 an hour because you can sell landscaping work all day long, right? If you go and wash that car for that hour, that car wash cost you $10 in tokens. But what it really cost you was $3,500 because you didn't go sell a landscape job. But what do we do all day? We feel the pride. We feel their satisfaction. We feel like we're doing the right thing because we're busy. We feel like we're doing the right thing because we always feel like doing more is the right thing. And what I've just come to learn is that doing less is actually more. Well, how did I grow like my media channel, like my media company, like my YouTube channel and the podcast and the Instagram? Do you know that I only post on Instagram like 3 times a day? Do you know that I only produce 3 podcasts a week? Do you know that I only make about 3 YouTube videos a week? If you actually look at it, I've got 3, and then 3 a day. I create 10, 12, 15, 20 pieces of content. In actual time invested, it's about 10, 15, 20 hours. But somehow we've got to 110,000 subs, 35,000 subscribers, and 50 to 70,000 downloads a month on the podcast. Like 55,000. We're in top 50 podcast. It doesn't mean I'm talented. It doesn't mean I'm better than you. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that we're focusing on the right things that produce correctly. Now, what I've also been able to do is grow my lawn and landscape company from a $40,000, $50,000 grossing a year business just 4 years ago to a $200,000 a year grossing business with a lot of help from a lot of people. Okay, so I mean, the caveat and the devil's advocate is a lot of good people are teaching me this stuff, but I also had to learn from what they said and then say, okay, I'm going to do this, and this. I'm not going to do this, and this. So I'm not a hero, but we grew one company from 50 grand to a couple $100,000. We grew a YouTube channel and media company from $0 to revenue to, I mean, we can literally track about $1.8 million worth of business and revenue that goes through my media company. Now, I don't make that. We make a small fraction of that. But let's say it's $100,000 a year. We grew 2 companies from 0 to, from 50 to 200, another company from 0 to 100. In the same time as 4 years, I've got a great marriage. And I've learned to figure out and focus on things that matter. Focus on things that when you pull the lever, you get the most result, the most reward, right? And so I just want to be as transparent as I can, not as a guru, not as a finished product, but as somebody that is just like you guys listening on the other end. I can't tell you how many times I keep saying this like I'm screaming at the rooftop. Nobody talks about the middle. Right? You listen to podcasts, and every time somebody gets on, the success scheme in podcasting, the success scheme in training, in digital downloads, the success scheme is to be the authority, to always be the answer guy. There isn't a podcast where you get somebody on, it's like, yeah, this guy's kind of average. He's done a couple things. He's not a 10. He's about a 5. And you might or might not be excited about what he has to say. I mean, that'd be a pretty lame introduction of a podcast. No, man, you hit the start on a podcast. It's this guy's the best. He was number 1 this or top 5 that, or, he did X, Y, and Z by A, B, C in time, right? Everybody's got to be that authoritative figure. And Gary Vee talks about FTN, fudge the numbers, frick the numbers, screw the numbers. He talked about this a couple years ago, and I really sold out to that. I took that to heart. I don't care about my sub count. I don't care about my view count. I don't care about any of these stupid metrics that everybody else is measuring. What I'm measuring is impact, right? What I want to measure is making a difference in you guys' freaking life. And that's where all the attaboys, the thank you changed my business, changed my life, all the messages you guys send us, all the reviews on the podcast, I eat up the fact that we're trying to make a difference with me and the guests we bring to you guys and the content we bring on YouTube to you guys. The if he can do it, I can do it syndrome, right? That's the stuff that I'm trying to measure the most now. And I'm trying to do that as I continue to grow because I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle with you guys. Now, if you look at somebody in the middle, you got two options, right? Why are 95% of you guys going to listen to this and not take action on a single thing I said? Because I'm not a 7-figure income producing person, because I'm not on a top 5 trending podcast, because I'm not interviewed by Patrick Bet-David, because my guests aren't interviewed by Robert Kiyosaki, because my guests, you guys, by the way, a lot of you guys, my guests aren't interviewed by Patrick Bet-David. You guys aren't interviewed by a Sal Frisella and an Andy Frisella. You think what we're saying is motivation, it's hype, it's just education, it's just entertainment, while you guys mow grass for an hour. What I'm really doing, as Keith Kalfa says, is I'm sneaking in the vitamins with the ice cream. What I'm trying to teach you guys how to do is be successful, be wealthier, to grow a wealth mentality, right? It's lawns, lessons, life, right? We'll talk about lawn care, we'll talk about equipment, and we do. We talk about lessons learned, and we do. And what I'm really trying to talk to you guys about is how to grow a successful life. Because 20 years ago, 10 years ago, when I was 10, 15, 20, I thought success was an enigma. I thought some people were born with it and some people weren't. And if you weren't, you couldn't ever become. If you were on one side of the tracks, you couldn't get to the other. I thought it was a spectrum. I thought success was on one side and failure was on the other. What I've come to find out is that it's a timeline. It's a lineage. It's a spectrum. You have to go from failure on one side and you have to break through those failures to get to success. It's a pointed arrow in one direction. It's not failure on one side, success on the other. You have to go through failure to become successful. And that's what I did. For 10, 12 years, all I did was fail. Every freaking day, all I did was fail. At business practices, at life skills, at relationship skills, my YouTube channel. There's people who have a YouTube channel right now, they get 25, 30,000 subs their first year. I got 1,000. All I did was fail. I did it all wrong. And then the second year, I was intelligent, just like some of you guys, and all I did was bang my head against the wall even more. And I went from 1,000 to 10,000. Some of you guys are like, man, that's 1,000% growth or 100, whatever. Cool. Well, some people go from 0 to 50,000 subs. Some people go from 0 to 1 million. So all I did, in my opinion, was fail. And then by failing, I learned how to become a better YouTuber and went from 10,000 to 50 and 50 to 100 in 12 months after that. So I'm not a successful dude in the framework that a lot of people want to portray when they get on a podcast and, pretend like they got it all figured out. I want to communicate to you guys and talk to you guys about stuff that I think is practical to help you guys literally today. Actual marching orders, actual things you guys can do to start learning how to be more successful. The biggest thing I can tell you guys that has helped me in the last 48 months is learning to say no. Is learning how to be a quitter, right? Is learning how to stop doing things that are stupid. Learning how to stop doing things that I shouldn't be doing. I don't go to the grocery store. I don't wash my cars. I don't change the oil. I don't care about gas prices. I don't care a whole bunch of stuff. I focus on the things that create 9s and 10s in my high income producing skills, which is creating content with my media company and working the hell out of my lawn and landscape company as many hours as a week as I can within a reasonable time frame. Right? Rob and I, we don't mess around. Like we cut grass 8 to 4. We're running $125 to $150 per hour rates every hour. Now we look calm, we look cool, we look relaxed. But Rob and I aren't, sitting in the truck, yakking it up, laughing at Instagram. We pull up to a property, we jump out of the truck and we work. And Rob likes that because he's in and out. And because we're in and out, we make top dollar. I can pay Rob top pay. And lo and behold, we have a pretty excited, loyal employee. And some of you guys, you don't want to do that. That's okay. But for the rest of you that don't want to bang your head against the wall and realize 4 or 5 years from now, man, why I'm in the same spot I'm in the same spot 5 years ago, is because we have to change. And unfortunately, again, it's self-imposed, right? I don't tell you this from this like top-down approach, my ivory tower, my White Castle, telling you guys like, wow, if you would just change, you get better. No, I'm talking to you as, look, this is what's worked for me. This is what's helped me to create hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue and cash flow. And I don't want to keep it a secret. I don't want to be selfish with it. Now, I've spent hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours learning this stuff. And my role, what I feel like I have a unique ability to do is to package it up and to communicate it to you guys to where you can digest it, right? I wanted to take this sea of information, distill it, and give you guys a drip. And every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I should say, we're going to give you guys a drip. You want to plug in? You guys want to learn? You want to put this IV right into you guys about good stuff and wealth mentality and success and business and entrepreneurship? Man, that's what we're going to do. All right. I told you this is what happens. I looked down at my phone. I didn't touch a single thing on the phone. I didn't even look at my notes. This is my subconscious talk, and this is just inspiration. Praise God. We'll give him all the glory. But hey, shoot this message up on Instagram. Shoot this podcast up there if you guys enjoyed it. Leave me some ratings and reviews. Let me know how we're doing. Give me some feedback. Shoot me some messages on Instagram. If it's fire, fire. If it's not, hey, no big deal. We'll have another podcast for you guys in 48 hours, right? Guys, I love you guys more than you know. I care about you guys so much more than you know. I just give it all away, man. I just pour it out. It's late night right now, actually. I'm in my garage, and it's just me. So I appreciate you guys so much for listening in. Thank you so much for all the support. And if we came at you fast, you go give this podcast a re-listen. They say you got to listen to things 7 times before it actually starts to penetrate and permeate into your subconscious mind so you can make a change. All right, guys. So that's it. Over and out. Love you guys. Appreciate you big time. We're going to kick it back over to Marty, Mr. Producer. Take it away, Marty. Thank you.
Ratings and reviews. Each week, we take a minute to highlight your guys' reviews of the show.
All right, our first 5-star review comes from MusicMan09 via Apple Podcast. Hey, Brian, we met a few times at GIE. Your podcast is awesome. It adds great value to me personally and to my business. I just heard Bedell on the Green Industry Podcast and had no idea that he was the debt-free guy, and I certainly understand both mindsets. Sam at Simple Yard through Apple says the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast has been a valuable source of information, inspiration, and encouragement. The episodes are timely, often exactly what I need to hear when I'm working through a challenge, looking for advice, or just gaining inspiration from others who have gone before me. Thank you, Sam, for that review. Drew. Hey, Drew, how are you? And Drew says, by far one of the best podcasts out there. I listen all day while mowing, and it gives me so much motivation to grow my business. I even got my wife to start listening to help get her some more knowledge. It's some of the best content out there. Literally makes you want to go out and crush it. We couldn't have said it better ourselves. Get out there, have a profitable day, and come back for the next episode of Fullerton Unfiltered.
Want us to read your review next? Let us know how we're doing, and we might just read your review on next week's show.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.